Okay, so you know how sometimes you hear someone speak and they just sound so polished and confident? Like you instantly think, okay, they know what they're talking about.
Definitely. I think we all have those people we admire for their communication skills.
Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into how to sound more like that. You know,
Hmm.
how to level up your English speaking so you come across as more polished and confident no matter the situation, whether it's a big presentation at work or just chatting with new people at a party.
It's about having those tools to really express yourself effectively.
Exactly. And to do that, we're going to be drawing from a fantastic resource we found, the English podcast for learning English talk like this to sound confident English Leaps podcast. Video transcript from the Speak English with Class YouTube channel.
That channel has some amazing content. Seriously. So, what we're going to do today is distill their key strategies into practical tips that you can start using like right away. We'll look at common mistakes we all make, like those little verbal habits that can undermine us without us even realizing. And we'll give you concrete ways to polish those up and boost your confidence when you speak.
Sounds good. I'm excited to break
Ah.
this down.
All right, let's jump in. The first strategy from the video is something so simple yet so powerful, using proper greetings.
It's easy to overlook, but think about it. That initial greeting really sets the tone for the entire conversation.
Yeah, it's like that first impression that can make or break things.
Exactly. And the source points out that while casual greetings like hey or what's up are totally fine with friends in professional settings, they might not convey the right level of professionalism.
Yeah, like if you're meeting a client for the first time or you're in a job interview, you probably don't want to start with what's up.
Right. Instead, opting for good morning, good afternoon, or hello, how are you today immediately establishes a more professional tone. You know what I've noticed? Even in casual settings, sometimes a more formal greeting can be a good move. Like it can show that you're taking the conversation seriously, even if it's not a business meeting or something.
I agree. It shows respect for the person and the situation. And speaking of respect, the source gives a related tip that's so important, using people's titles and last names unless they specifically tell you otherwise.
Right, like instead of, hey, John, it's good morning, Mr. Smith.
Exactly. It shows that you're paying attention to social and professional etiquette. These little linguistic cues can really make a difference in how you're perceived.
And you know what? It can actually make you feel more confident, too, like you're putting your best foot forward.
I totally agree.
Okay, let's move on to the second key strategy,
Huh.
being concise. I feel like this is something I struggle with sometimes. I tend to over-explain things.
This is a common trap. But the source really emphasizes that getting straight to the point is essential for projecting confidence.
Really. I always thought that using more complex sentences would make me sound smarter.
I think a lot of people believe that, but actually, clarity is what makes you sound more confident.
Hmm.
When you're wordy, it can actually muddle your message and make you sound less certain.
Interesting. So it's kind of like cutting out the fluff and getting to the core of what you want to say.
Exactly. And the source gives some really helpful examples of how to simplify wordy phrases. Like instead of saying, in the event that it rains, we will postpone the meeting, you can just say, if it rains, we will postpone the meeting.
Wow, that's so much simpler, and it gets the point across just as effectively.
Right. Another example they give is shortening phrases that start with for the purpose of. So instead of saying, for the purpose of improving our customer service, we are launching a new training program, you could simply say, to improve our customer service, we are launching a new training program.
Much better. And the last one they give is about cutting out unnecessary phrases. Instead of, due to the fact that she was late, the meeting started without her. You could just say, because she was late, the meeting started without her.
Hmm.
Grow. Okay, that's a good reminder to just be direct and to the point.
Yeah,
Yeah, that really does sound more confident and professional.
absolutely. It's about being clear and concise in your communication.
All right, moving on to the third strategy, which I think is something we all struggle with, eliminating filler words.
Those little ums and likes can be so sneaky.
I know, the source actually points out that most people don't even realize how often they use filler words until they hear themselves on a recording or something.
It can be eye-opening. And it's interesting because even though they're just little words, they can make a big difference in how confident you sound.
The source gives a great example of this. Instead of saying, I kind of think this idea might work, a much stronger and more confident way to put it is, I believe this idea will work.
That's a great example. It completely changes the tone. And you know what's funny? Sometimes I think we use filler words because we're afraid of silence. But the source actually suggests that pausing instead can be much more powerful.
Really. A pause can sound more confident.
Yeah, it gives the impression that you're thinking carefully about what you're going to say rather than just trying to fill the space.
That's a really good point.
Hmm.
I'm definitely going to try to be more mindful of that.
And the source also mentions something they call side particles, which are words like basically, technically, or actually.
What are those exactly?
They're words that often slip into our sentences without really adding any meaning. Like instead of saying, basically, we need to finish the report by Friday, you can just say, we need to finish the report by Friday.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like another form of unnecessary words that we can cut out.
Exactly. It makes your speech sound more concise and professional.
All right, let's move on to the fourth strategy, which I'm really interested in. Choosing strong and assertive words.
This is where word choice really comes into play. The way you phrase things can either boost or undermine your confidence.
Yeah, like if you found unsure of yourself, others might not take your ideas as seriously.
Exactly. And the source gives some fantastic examples of how to replace uncertain phrasing with more assertive language. For instance, instead of saying, I think this is a good idea, you could say, I believe this is a great idea.
That's so true. Just that one word change, believe, makes it sound so much stronger.
Another example is switching from I was given an opportunity to I seized the opportunity.
Ooh, I like that. It shows that you're proactive and not just passively waiting for things to happen.
And instead of a tentative, maybe we could try this approach, you can say, let's move forward with this approach.
It sounds so much more confident and decisive.
Right. And when you're checking for understanding, instead of the somewhat insecure, does that make sense? A more confident alternative is, let me know if you have any questions.
That's good. It shifts the focus to the listener needing clarification rather than you being unsure of yourself.
And lastly, instead of a hopeful, I hope this helps, a more assertive way to say it is, I'm confident this will help.
It shows that you stand behind what you're saying and you believe in its value.
What's interesting about all these examples is how subtle changes in wording can make a huge difference in how confident and professional you sound.
Absolutely. It's about choosing words that reflect your assurance and expertise. Okay, strategy number 5 is all about something that I think a lot of us do without realizing it. Removing unnecessary disclaimers.
Yes, those little phrases that can sneak into our speech and weaken our message.
Exactly. The source gives examples like, this might sound silly, but, or you've probably already thought of this, but.
We've all been there.
And the thing is, those disclaimers make your point seem less important right from the start.
Yeah.
It's like you're apologizing for what you're about to say.
Totally. And the source emphasizes that if you believe in what you're saying, there's no need to diminish it with a disclaimer.
So instead of, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but maybe we could try, you could just say, I suggest we try.
Much more direct and confident.
And similarly, instead of, this may be a dumb question, but you could just ask, could you clarify this for me?
It shows that you're not afraid to ask for clarification and you value understanding.
So it's all about owning your ideas and your questions without feeling the need to apologize for them.
Exactly.
Let's move on to strategy number 6, which is a crucial skill in any professional setting, giving effective feedback.
This one is all about how you deliver the message. Feedback is important, but it needs to be constructive and encouraging rather than demotivating.
Right. The source talks about how the wrong phrasing can actually make people defensive and less likely to improve.
Exactly. So instead of a blunt, your work isn't good, a more helpful approach is, I think this could be improved by, and then offering a specific suggestion.
Much better, it focuses on the solution rather than just the problem.
Another example they give is instead of, you did this wrong, you could say, I have a suggestion that might make this even better.
I like that it's phrased in a way that's positive and focused on growth.
And the source also mentions the idea of starting with something positive before giving the constructive feedback. Like you could say, I really like how you structured this report. One way we can make it even stronger is by adding more details in this section.
That's the classic feedback sandwich, right? Start with something good, then give the feedback, then end with another positive.
Exactly. It helps the person be more receptive to the feedback.
Okay, on to strategy number 7, asking professional questions. This might seem simple, but there's actually an art to it.
That's true. Vague or rambling questions can make you sound unprepared or disengaged. It's important to ask questions in a way that's clear and concise.
Yeah, like instead of just saying, I don't get it, a more professional way to ask is, excuse me, may I ask?
It sets a more formal tone and shows that you're being respectful of the other person's time.
And instead of a simple, can you explain that again? You could say, I was wondering if you could clarify.
It shows that you're paying attention and you're actively seeking to understand.
The source also gives the example of, could you elaborate on that? instead of, what do you mean?
Again, it's about being specific and encouraging a more thoughtful response.
So it's all about asking questions in a way that demonstrates your engagement and thoughtfulness.
Exactly.
And finally, our last strategy for today is number 8, ending conversations professionally.
This is so important because it's your last chance to make a good impression.
Yeah, an abrupt ending can make you seem rude or dismissive.
Definitely so. Instead of just saying, okay, bye, the source suggests opting for phrases like, thank you for your time and valuable insights, or I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this with you.
Those are great. They sound so much more polished and sincere.
And if there are any next steps involved, be clear about them. Instead of a vague, I'll follow up, say something like, I'll send you an update by Friday.
It shows that you're organized and reliable.
And the source also suggests inviting further communication. Instead of talk later, you could say, please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions.
It leaves the door open for continued conversation and shows that you're approachable.
Exactly.
So to sum it all up, we've covered 8 key strategies today for sounding more polished and confident when speaking English. We talked about using proper greetings, being concise, eliminating filler words, choosing strong and assertive language, removing unnecessary disclaimers, giving effective feedback, asking professional questions, and ending conversations professionally.
Incorporating even a few of these strategies into your daily communication can make a huge difference in how you come across.
It's really about being mindful of your language and making conscious choices that reflect your confidence and professionalism.
And I think a good takeaway for everyone listening is to think about which of these strategies resonates most with you. Which one do you think you could start implementing today to make the biggest impact on your communication?
And maybe even challenge yourself to pick one strategy and really focus on it for a week or two. See what kind of difference it makes in your interactions.
I think you'll be surprised at how much of an impact these small changes can have.
And if you're interested in learning even more, I definitely recommend checking out the full English podcast for learning English talk like this to sound confident English Leap podcast, video from the Speak English with Class YouTube channel. They have a lot of great tips and insights on English communication.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to improve their English skills and sound more confident when they speak.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us and happy speaking.
Thanks for listening.